This is Dr. Anita with another diamond moment. As we know, diamonds are produced through time, heat, and pressure. What we use those raw stones for determines what their value is going to be. And nothing in its raw form is ready to be utilized until it is processed. We've been talking about communication. We've been talking about, do you talk more and listen less? Are you always talking and not listening? Are you aware of the words that you say and how you're using them? Is your communication accurate in terms of what you are trying to convey to someone else? And if it is, how are you being received? How is what you're saying interacting in a one-on-one conversation with someone? Do you have good listening skills? Are you waiting for the other person to stop talking so that you can begin? Or are you actually taking in what they're saying to you in order to be able to either bring about a greater understanding or an element of healing in the other person's life, or maybe even in your own life? Sometimes we've asked people questions on why did you do that? And we've never stopped to hear them, to really listen to them when they tell us why, when they tell us what was going on in their minds, in their hearts, and why they did what they did, whether it was affirming to us or whether it was detrimental to us. We are always looking at ways that we can challenge limiting beliefs and challenge limiting behaviors, because in doing so, that is how we move not only our life forward, but the world forward. You should be able to recognize by now that we're in a very different place in the history of this world. For those that I have the opportunity to interact with most frequently, we say all the time, we went through not just a epidemic, but we went through a worldwide pandemic. Many people are no longer on this earth in the form that we knew them. They're no longer here. And for those of us who survived that pandemic, are we supposed to continue doing the same thing in the same way? Are we supposed to just go back to life as usual? Or are we supposed to move our lives, our cultures, our countries, our societies forward? If we've been able to gather any information because we listened, as opposed to we're so busy negating what was being said that we haven't learned anything, are we at a place where our listening can cause us to be able to move forward in where we go? Right now, again, we're at a place in history, and not just U.S. history, but world history, where people are consistently speaking, but are they being heard? All around the world, cultural norms are being challenged because the people are speaking and they may not be being heard. The way that countries have governed themselves may be at a place to be reevaluated. We talked previously about the fact that no matter how much we'd like it to be, we're not going back to the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, nor 60s. We're not going to be going back. And so when people insist on positioning you in a point of history that no longer exists, we need to listen and understand that that place is no longer applicable or appropriate for where we are now. When we look at our world and we see people who are willing to die in order to protest where they are, when women are wanting more independence over their own selves, and a segment of their societies have determined it doesn't matter, you're going to stay where you are, and I refuse to allow you to improve. We have to realize we're at a different place in our world and in time. And listening is so very, very important. That's why we've had 5 other episodes about listening, because we're not listening. And until we listen, we cannot correct the ills of society. We cannot heal people. We cannot move forward. We will always be at odds. As Scripture tells us, how can two walk together except they be agreed? If in relationships you're not being heard, how can you continue in that relationship? When we're looking at the environment of our governments and people are talking and no one is listening, how can we move forward until we listen? One of the major goals of organizations like the United Nations is for different cultures, different people coming from even with different languages to be able to talk together and come up with different solutions to the world's problems. How much are we listening as our lives extend outside of me, my, for, and no more? How much are we listening when we have to interact with people outside of our homes who have different cultures, different lifestyles, who look different, may sound different? And how much are we listening to those people? Why have we decided that I'm threatened if you live your life the way that you feel that you should? Why is that threatening to us, to some? Why do I feel the need that I have to live your life, that I have to determine what you can do and cannot do? Why do I feel the need for that? Have I ever truly listened to you? Do I have empathy for where you are? Empathy meaning not sympathy, I feel sorry for you, but empathy meaning I have put myself in your shoes. I am imagining what it would be like to be you. And if I am, is that the way I would want to be treated? When we talked about that, a person may not remember what you said or what you did, but they will always remember how you made them feel. That feeling aspect is connected to the empathy that we have for another person, putting ourselves actively in their shoes and determining, is this the way I would want to be treated if I was that person? When a male decides how a woman should handle her body, never having had a child, never going to be able to have a child, but you have put yourself in a position that you're going to decide what's best for another full-fledged, full-grown, functioning adult, and they are not in agreement with that, you're going to have some conflicts that occur. When people are telling us who they are and we're not wanting to believe them, is it their fault for the outcomes in our lives, or is it our fault for the outcomes in our lives? When we're asking ourselves tough questions, we also have to ask ourselves why we do the things that we do. Why would we feel threatened at someone living their life? If I'm not going to experience the consequences of their behavior, why am I so invested in the way that they live their lives? Why do I feel threatened by somebody being able to be who they are? Why am I so involved with looking at their plate that I'm unable to appreciate what I have on my own plate? When we're talking about, are you talking more than you're listening? Are you talking and never listening? Are you only listening for a break so that you can have your opinion heard? You can do things your way. If you have not considered the fact that there is healing in being able to listen, it may account for some of the issues that are taking place in your own relationships. How is your relationship with your children? While you're deciding what takes place outside of your home, what's taking place inside of your home? How is your relationship with your significant other? Because while you're deciding what somebody else can do with their bodies and how they have to dress and act and live, what's going on in your own household? How are you handling the things that take place that are truly under your discretion? Are you listening to the people who sleep right next to you or in the next room? Are you listening to them? Do you really know how they feel? Are they able to come to you and receive the healing that they need? Or if they come to you, will they be further injured? What do you know about them really? Are you working on an antiquated idea of who they were 3, 5, 10, or even last year? Maybe they have changed. Maybe something has taken place in their lives that have caused them to change. And they're attempting to talk to you about it, but you are so stuck on them remaining where they are, you're not able to hear them. And when you're not able to hear them, what is that doing to them? Empathize. Put yourself in their shoes. What would have happened in your life if you had been heard at an earlier age? What did you come from a home where you were listened to or whether you were dismissed? Did you come from a home that had the opinion that children are supposed to be seen and not heard? Nothing you have to say is important. Therefore, go sit down and shut up. There's a lot of people that are like that. And then on the other side of that, did you come from a home where your opinion outweighed the opinions of those who had more experience? And therefore, you went through challenges because they did not reason with you to the degree that you could make the most out of any situation you encounter in life. Listening is vital to being able to move your life forward. And you must challenge the belief that it doesn't matter, that what people say doesn't matter, that what you think doesn't matter because it was not appreciated previously. So you just stopped expressing your ideas. We see it as it comes to choosing our leaders in the country, that people feel my voice doesn't mean anything. That came from somewhere. It came from not being listened to. So we have to be really open to hear what people are saying so that it can lead, guide, and order our steps, that we know where we're going. I hope this has helped you. This is Dr. Anita. Please visit my website at www.DrAnitaMc.com. Join me on Wisdom, where you can ask questions that I will answer. Follow me on FanBase, but most of all, continue listening to this podcast and realize becoming is a process. A process has stages. We must invest in ourselves.